Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another video in this Preaching Advent series. I'm Reverend Jim Keat, the Director of Online Innovation here at Convergence. And in this video, we're talking with Debie Thomas. Debie, you wear many hats. Correct me if any of this bio needs to be updated, but you are a columnist for the Christian Century. You are an essayist for Journey with Jesus, although I haven't seen your stuff as frequently there as I used to. Maybe you can tell me more about that in a minute. But you're also the author of a book that just came out earlier this year, Into the Mess and Other Jesus Stories, Reflections on the Life of Christ. And if that wasn't enough, you are the Minister of Lifelong Formation at St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Palo Alto, California, which I just learned is considered Northern California.
Yes, it is. So yes, all of that is right, except that I did step down from Journey with Jesus earlier this year, just taking a break from the weekly deadline. So, but everything else is still up to date.
Well, no wonder I've missed your weekly essays there, but I'm glad the book fills that void for so many of us. Congratulations on the book, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we are going to talk about Advent, which is, the season that happens every year, late November, all through December. So from your point of view and your understanding, what is this season of Advent and why is it important for the church?
Sure. So I have really come to cherish Advent because it's not a season I grew up with. In the tradition I grew up with, we kind of went straight from Thanksgiving to Christmas and just skipped over this whole time of waiting and expectation and kind of lingering in the shadows. So I really value that because I think it's such an important part of human experience that it's not instant gratification. There are long seasons in our life of waiting, having to slowly prepare for something. There's a lot of uncertainty that comes with that because we don't know exactly what it's going to look like when this new thing comes. So for me, I think Advent is a really important time of just authenticity, getting really honest about where we are now, what we don't yet have that we long for, and then leaning into the promise that that good thing, that shalom, that beautiful life, that kingdom of God is coming, that we can trust it, even though we have to wait for it.
Say a bit more about how you came to Advent or how Advent came to you. What about it in particular connected or struck you or just resonated when you were introduced to this season in the church and in life?
Sure. So when I joined the Episcopal Church, that's when I was really introduced to liturgical seasons at all. That we kind of follow the rhythm of Jesus's life in
There's more than just Christmas and Easter.
There's more than Christmas and Easter, and I love that because we have secular time, which in some ways is sort of tyrannical for us. We're bound to our Google calendars and our planning all of those things, but to know that underneath that, holding us below that, is this slower, rhythmic, cyclical time that we just keep coming back to over and over again. I kind of think of it as a spiral staircase, that ascent, the ascent is happening, but it's slow and cyclical. And sometimes you don't even realize that you've grown or changed until you kind of look back and go, oh, I'm in a different place now than I was before. So I think every time we come back to Advent, we're reminded again, it's not finished. We are not finished. The church is not finished. The work of God in our lives is not finished. There's still more to hope for, to lean into, to expect. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing to be unfinished and to know that God is still at work in us and through us.
I love that. What a beautiful reminder that we all need, and maybe how vulnerable. We're unfinished. We like to think that we're finally arrived, but it's like, no. There's actually so much more potential in acknowledging the unfinished nature of humanity and creation.
Absolutely.
I mean, and if you want to parse words, I don't read these, Genesis 1 literally, but I like that it says it is good, not it is perfect. And goodness to me isn't like an ending point, right? Perfection. It's just the same with these seasons. Yeah. Exactly.
And I like too that there's kind of an agency in Advent because it's not just a passive waiting, it's prepare, prepare for the way of the Lord, get ready. And for each of us, that might mean different things in different seasons of our life, to figure out what that inner work is or what that outer work is. But we get to participate in what God is doing by preparing. So that's exciting.
And we get another chance every year. So it's like, okay, here we go again and again and again.
We can start over. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, let's look at one of the texts in particular. I think we're going to talk about the one for week number 2, Advent week 2. The Hebrew scripture text is Isaiah chapter 11, verses 1 through 10. This has all sorts of, best hits from Isaiah in here. Shoot from the stump of Jesse,
Yeah.
lion and lamb and the child leading them. What's going on in this text, and how would you recommend a preacher approach it?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's just a beautiful poetic text. So I think just lingering over these gorgeous images of a sort of reversal and transformation, that relationships that used to be adversarial and carnivorous and violent will now become something altogether different. The wolf will lie down with the lamb, and a little child will be able to play with snakes and not get hurt. I mean, it's almost sort of absurd, and it's like, really, it seems like a fairy tale. It seems like we're entering into some fantastical realm. But I think what we're really entering into is God's dream for creation and for the world, and for relationships that are truly restored and governed by peace as opposed to violence or hierarchy. And I think for us right now, for a preacher approaching this text, it's so important to remember that God's dream for the world is bigger and bolder than ours is often. We get wounded, we get hurt, and when that happens, our expectations whittle down. Like, we become self-protective, and we just think, okay, what's a realistic measurable outcome? Like, what's a small thing that maybe I can do to make the world a better place? And that is good and important. We need to, of course, do that. But I think this kind of text holds out this much broader, bolder, sort of almost crazy in its gorgeous, like, expectation, right? It's this horizon that we can hold all the time. So even as we're doing our smaller works of justice or peacemaking, we remember that God's ultimate dream for the world and vision for the world, what God is working towards, is absolute reconciliation and restoration and peace, not only for humanity, but for the cosmos, for all things.
Yeah, that I love that you bring that up, because that's so rich, that this portion of Isaiah is not just saying, and people will get along with people,
right?
But it's this sense of all the created tissues and connectedness and everything that exists. And obviously they didn't have the Webb telescope to give them these huge glimpses into the cosmos like we have, but they looked as far as they could. And what's what can they see? All of that's going to come together in this peaceable kingdom.
Exactly. It's gorgeous.
That's a good horizon to reach for, and especially in the season of Advent, to say, all right, we're watching, we're waiting, we're anticipating, we're looking forward to something. Like, dream big. Let's dream as big as possible.
Exactly. Because I think we need that to re-energize us when we're tired and we feel like we're not getting anywhere. We need to have a vision that we're holding on to. And I think one of the other pieces that I really love about this is it begins with this image of an injured stump, of something that is dry, something that's been broken, from which you think no living thing will ever come again. And then you see this shoot, this little green shoot comes up and new life starts. And I think for many of us, coming out of 3 years of COVID and being tired, and we've seen a lot of brokenness, we've seen a lot of death. There's this sense in which we are exhausted, and to know that that's kind of the material God knows what to do with. Like, God can take the stumps in our lives, whether that's a very personal stump or like a communal or a global broken thing, and transform it and make it into a source of life. So that's really encouraging and hopeful, I think, for us right now.
If I were preaching this text, it would make me want to get like a giant tree stump and have it at the pulpit there, like stand and talk about these things that we think are useless or used to have life and don't anymore. And that, like you said, that's God's favorite stuff to play with. That's where something new is going to come.
Exactly. Exactly. And then let's see what else. And I think also this image of, as Christians, you often treat this as a messianic text, and that's in it as an image of who Jesus is for us, like a human king who is all about peace and justice and making things right. And it's very bold that Israel, Judah, at a time that was, filled with violence and oppression and terror, they were able to imagine, Isaiah was able to imagine such a ruler, which is, there's a lot of parallels to the world we live in now, right? Like a very politically broken, divisive world, and to imagine that there can be a kingdom that is all about peace and equity and justice.
It's not just partisanship and debating things in Congress and
Exactly. And deadlock and gridlock and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. So it's a very hopeful text. It's a beautifully hopeful text.
Well, I feel like you just gave every preacher listening to this about 3 or 4 places to start for a sermon. So now they have the hard choice of picking which one. So good luck, preacher. That's the work. But if anyone gets a tree stump on their pulpit, I want to see a photo of that.
Absolutely, I do too. That would be fantastic.
Debie, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Thank you so much for this time and for all these ideas and resources that you share and all the things you have been sharing over the years. I mean, you have content people can search through from the years of the lectionary. So, I mean, I go back to your writing often and think, what did Debie have to say about this passage? So everyone, if you haven't, check out all of the things she's written in the past. Your website is DebieThomas.com.
DebieThomas.com. Yep.
There we go. It has all information, all sorts of things you've written. And then, obviously your new book is as well. Everyone can get that too. Is there going to be a sequel? You got another book coming? Anything else in the works?
I'm working on one. Probably it'll be out in 2024. So yeah.
Oh, okay. 2024. I'll hold my breath until then.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jim, so much for inviting me to do this. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Debie.
Yeah. All right. Take care.